Where do horses go when they retire from competition? In the northwestern United States, they might go to the owner of Blue Frog Equine, Meighan Swakon. Our hosts talk about Meighan's transition from competition to care and what kind of care goes into the horses towards the end of their lives.
So we kind of ask everybody in the beginning, how'd you get started with horses?
There wasn't really a time in my life when there weren't horses. My mother was a trauma nurse in Cleveland, Ohio. And so she had a bunch of friends on the mounted unit, the Cleveland Police. And so my first time on a horse, I was 3 months old, just being held up there, bopping around. And it just was always kind of a given. My first official lesson, I was 6, and I bugged my parents and bugged them and bugged them and bugged them until they finally let me do it. And then I just never looked back. I think, when you have the bug, you can kind of see it in people. And that was that first official lunge line lesson. I knew I had the bug, and I knew this is what my life was going to look like. I didn't know what exactly that would entail at that point, but just horses have always been a part of my life and my kids' lives.
Okay. And that was at 6 you started lunge line lesson? Okay. And where did it take off from there then? Where did it go from there?
A few different directions. I did the 100 jumpers. Okay. I don't have a whole lot of memory of the 100 jumpers because about the time I was 12, I settled into eventing at Blue Ridge Farm in Ohio. And I think my whole heart was in eventing. I loved the adventure of it. I still think about, I don't really ride anymore, but I think about being in the start box. And I think anybody who's evented knows what I'm talking about, where your hands get sweaty. You get really excited to think about being counted down. And, so I did eventing for a while. And then after college, I taught lessons to kind of pay for my horse habit. And I got married very young and had kids right away. But and I stopped riding after my kids were born, but I've always had my foot in the door. I've always dabbled. I've always been involved somehow until my husband and I bought this property in Oregon in 2015, I believe. And then I went, oh, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do now.
Okay. How long did you event for then? Was that a period of time or?
Gosh, I started when I was about 12, and then I was actively eventing into my 20s. And then in my 30s is when I really kind of stopped. Wow. So kids, it's hard to balance kids and their riding and everything they want to do and have a home life and a job and all the things. So.
What did you like most about your eventing? What was it was it just that adrenaline that you get from the, here we go? Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely a part of it. I think as I get older, I think I've come to realize that there are kind of like people who love to ride and there are people who love horses. And sometimes they intersect, and that's the best possible situation. But I think ultimately I am a person who loves horses. And so that's why I loved riding and eventing, because just being in their presence, having the honor to take care of them and letting them trust you is really impactful to me. I think that's what I love the most about it.
That's a good way to put it. I couldn't agree with you more. I understand completely when you say that, because there is that love of horses sometimes that just, no matter what it is, it's the love of horses, isn't it? It's just no matter what you're doing. Yeah, I get that completely.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people that event have that mindset kind of, just because I feel like the bravery that event horses have to have, and like the trust that they have to put in you, that like you can jump in the water, you can like jump this scary ditch or something like that. Those horses have to be really brave and trust you a lot. So it attracts a type of person,
And did you have that relationship with that horse too? That when you get that, it's the one knows which way the other one's going to go, and it's a really good bond. You know, you have that, and boy, the trust between the two is like amazing. Yep.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't know that there's anything else like it.
Right.
When you know, when you're really in sync, and you know you're getting to the other side of that fence coming up, just because you know your horse, you believe in them, and you know that they trust you. There's just nothing like it. It's an incredible feeling. And I've still been able to maintain that in what I do with horses now.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's
Can you talk a little bit about like your transition almost from like riding to caretaking, I guess? I don't know if that's the right word necessarily, but you could also talk about if that is the right word.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how I refer to myself, as a caretaker. I'm not a trainer. I was a good rider, and I evented for a long time, but I wasn't a great rider. You know, I'm never going to the Olympics or anything like that. So I knew that I didn't want a riding facility. There is sometimes in riding facilities, and we all know this, that there's some drama sometimes, and there's some competition, and that can be really distracting and really difficult. So I knew that I still needed to be with horses, but I also needed to be with like-minded people who really just love their horses. And I was working in hospice care, actually. And so I was working in end of life with people, and I really, really love that. It's very eye-opening. You develop some really incredible, trusting relationships there. And when we got the property, I thought, you know what, I can do this with horses, because not a lot of people do retirement. It's not a moneymaker, right? Because if we're being brutally honest, these horses that are no longer rideable, that we're walking them home, right? So there's not money in this. There's not money in those horses. So I took what I learned in hospice care, and I brought that with me to our retirement program. And we've been doing this for 2 years. We filled stalls as quickly as we could build them, because there's such a massive need for retirement care for horses. And we just haven't looked back. So just full steam ahead. And now we're getting into kind of the nitty gritty of it, and we're able to offer some more services, which is exciting. So we have groundwork for enrichment, which is important. Because you can't just take a really fit working horse and then go, okay, you're retired. We're going to put you in a field and you're going to be happy, you know? So we have to we've learned that we have to gradually step them down into retirement. And then, we're working with nutritionists to keep them happy and healthy for a really long time, because they do have changing diets. So yeah, I think it's really accurate just to call me a caretaker, because that's what I do. I spend, me and my amazing staff, we spend a lot of time just making sure all the horses are as happy and as healthy as they can be.
What kind of horses now do you have that have come into the facility? Like all different kinds, or are you seeing a particular, like a type of horse, or that they were doing something, their job, that particular type of thing that they were doing that come in for this, or?
So we have a lot of sport horses. We have a lot of the retired hunter jumpers in particular, who've worked their hearts out into their 20s, and they just have some arthritis and they can't do it anymore. I actually have a couple. I had to retire one of my thoroughbreds. We call him Gary. We love him. And we brought him in off the track from California about 2 years ago, as a 5-year-old. And then we had him in full training for a year, and he just was not progressing. And we were going, gosh, what the heck is going on? And so, we finally figured out that he has wobblers. And unfortunately, we've had to retire him. So we do have really young retirees. We have another German import that came in through Imagination Lane, and he ended up having wobblers also. Those young, fast-growing geldings, we're seeing more and more of those come in. So yeah, it's a really wide range. We have, some quarter horses that were only ever on trail. We have a couple that worked cattle. But it's a really wide range. We have little quarter horses. We have a Shetland pony who's well into his 30s, but thinks he's 10. So it's a pretty wide range. it's a really fun community too, because with the diverse horses, we have a diverse group of people. Right. So we spend a lot of time hanging out and learning from each other, right. which is really cool.
Right. So how does that work with, like, the people that come in? Did you establish yourself and then advertise, and then these people start to come in? And is it, how do you take that horse from the beginning and talk to them about, I don't know if they qualify. How does that work with you, to bring the horses in then and see where they'll go from there then?
It's a lot of talking. A lot of phone calls and emails going back and forth over whether retirement really is a good option for their horse. When we first put our website up, we got inquiries almost immediately, because so many people, there's a huge space for retirement, and we are not filling it by any means, because there aren't places for people to say, I don't want to pay for amenities that I'm not using, but my horse really needs to be taken care of. They have medical needs, they're older, they have metabolic issues, what have you. So to find a place you're not paying for amenities, but they have quality care and they know about these common issues with geriatric horses, that's super hard to find.
Yeah.
So as soon as the website went up, I had people almost immediately emailing me wanting to know more. And I do on a regular basis. And I really, really hate turning people away. It's heartbreaking, because I want to help everybody, but I only have 22 stalls. I can't fit any more horses.
Wow.
So we've been working with a few other smaller barns in the community to try to find open spaces for people. But yeah, go for it. Open up a retirement barn on the East Coast.
So there's a big need for it then. And you have 22 horses. And when they come in, do you have an idea as to their age, like how long they'll be there, or the care that will need to be given? I'm sure you have to offer different types of care to all these horses, because some of them need something for whatever they've done, they need help with at this point. So.
So we have we have a ton of paperwork that people have to fill out. We have a really thorough health disclosure form. I require all of the vet records, all of any kind of therapeutic records like chiro or acupuncture, water therapy, any of that, because we really take a very close look at exactly what these horses need. I do not charge, and I never will charge, to give horses medication or care that's routine, because that is just part of retirement. That's who these animals are now, and we need to respect and honor that we're taking in the whole animal and their people. And if I had to charge for every medication I have to give a horse on the daily, I'd never be able to keep track.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh my goodness. Yep. Wow.
This podcast is brought to you by Ram Fence and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. Ram is family-owned and operated and been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984.
So when they come in then, is the plan that they stay until their time comes? And how does that work? How do you handle that with the owner then? And are these owners distances away then too?
I do have some owners that are out of state. And part of our conversations are always an end of life plan. We have fantastic vets who we're very close with, and their empathy and their kindness when we have to say goodbye is just huge. I could cry just thinking about it because our team is so phenomenal. And we do request when the time comes that and we leave it up to the owners, but if they prefer to have the farm to themselves, we'll close the farm. And we set up a space and we all take time. We're a community. Our people, I don't want to call us a family because that's so cliche, but our people, our barn family comes together and is super supportive. And when we have had horses that have passed, that person it doesn't mean that person is gone too. They're still part of our family. They're still on the newsletters. They're still coming to our functions. And we're still holding on to them. And then, you know, we also have horses that leave because my favorite instance was this horse Ferguson, who we laughed that he got kicked out of his retirement home because he wasn't ready.
He sounds like his little name just even sounds like he wasn't ready. It's cute.
He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to retire. He still needed to work, and he ended actually at 25 going back into a training program.
Wow.
Because I don't hesitate for a moment to tell people if this is not working, because this is not for every horse. So some horses love retirement. They love being out in a field and enjoying their herd and eating, and that's their life. But some horses need to work up until the very last day that they can. Wow. So that's also part of the conversations when they first come in. What are they doing? And what is their mindset when they're doing it? Because if they're not ready, you'll do more harm than good.
Do you try to keep up with some of that? Do you all do that? And your staff, how many people do you have to work with them also too?
We do the best that we can, but again, we're not a riding facility, so I don't have an arena. So we can do something weather dependent. We'll do a little bit of work outside. We like to do a lot of walking over poles because that'll still activate lots of muscles. Walking is a fantastic exercise, especially for these older horses. But we don't do training. So you won't see us out there lunging and doing all kinds of stuff like that. So they really do have to be ready for retirement.
Okay.
And then I forgot what the next part of that question was.
I'm sorry. Well, I was asking you about staff too, but if I could ask you also, are these horses basically, do you have like stalls that they go into, or are there sheds that they go into then, or how does that work? And then I ask about staff too, how many people it takes. Yep.
We have all of our stalls, they're 12 by 14 stalls, and they all have giant runs on them.
Nice.
So the horses get turned out during the day, and then they come in at night. Or if we have, you know, the Pacific Northwest, our weather is just bonkers. So a few days ago, it was 60 and sunny, and then yesterday it snowed, and we can't decide where we are. So there are days that we will keep them inside if the weather's really rotten, but they always have outdoor access because horses are outdoor animals. They are not meant to be in a box stall for 23 hours a day.
Right.
So, all of the stalls have runs, and our barn is also a shed row style. So it's open in the front and it's open in the back. Wow. So they always have this feeling that they're outside. They have something to look at. They can see the pasture. They can see people moving around, or they can go in back where it's more quiet and get away from that for a little while. But as far as staff goes, I have a tremendous, amazing staff who are so knowledgeable and kind and wonderful. My barn manager, Stephanie, I absolutely could not do it without her help. She keeps everything together. And I couldn't stay organized without her. I need her organization to get me through day to day. And then I just have, gosh, how many people do we have in total? We have 5. Wow. And then a stall cleaning company that will come in a few days a week to help us out. But I'm out there. I muck stalls almost on a daily basis. We're all very involved. My kids come out and do stalls and water buckets. It's a family affair. My husband's a very good horse holder. So,
well, you kind of have to be, don't you, too, because it's 24/7 with horses, too, and it's good to have people, other hands that can come in and help. So that's so good. Yep, sounds so good. So are you always full then? Do you remain? It sounds like you are. There's probably a waiting list, I suppose, for horses to come in. Yeah.
Yes, we are. It's pretty rare that I have stalls that open up. If they do open up, I have a wait list. But wait listing with horses is really difficult because when you need to find a place for your animal, you really have to find a place.
Yeah.
So people don't stay on the wait list very long because I just can't say. I could have an opening tomorrow, or I may not have another one for a year. Wow. So that's pretty tricky, but I do try to keep in touch with people.
Okay. Now, do they come and see their horses? Do you have people coming all the time, or how does that work then? Do you allow it all the time? They can come in when they want to, or?
Yeah, it's an open door. We're closed 1 day a week. So my staff can come in and we can kind of breeze through and get everything done that's kind of been on the back burner for that week. But other than that, we have a gate code, and I have some people that come every single day and see their horses, and some people that live out of state or can only get here every once in a while because they travel or what have you. But everyone is welcome. So,
Nice.
and it doesn't matter if they're here or if they're not, their horse is still getting really, really solid care.
Nice. Well, this is kind of a tough question, but the thing is when the horses get to where they need special care, I don't want to say how much can you do, but how much can you do? What if they do require something where you said you have a lot of vets on call, that type of thing? How much can you do, with those horses then at a certain, do you try to do, if there's something that comes up, do they go for any, like a surgery or anything like that? I don't know, how far can you go?
Sure. It really depends on the horse and the owner. If we have horses that have retired due to injury that are in their teens and would otherwise still be able to compete, they could be candidates for surgery if the owners really are just enjoying them as a pet and loving the time that they have with them. But we also, this is part of the conversations these are ongoing conversations that we have with owners, is that, what's your plan? Right. Because in a moment of crisis,
yes,
you're not going to be able to come up with a plan that is logical, that makes sense emotionally and financially. We really try to have an idea of what we want before we come to that bridge. Because ultimately, I think the kindest, most loving thing that you can do for an animal is to let them go.
Yeah. And that's a tough thing. And your background, I would assume, like with hospice, has helped, I'm sure, to be able to know how to talk to people about that too, because it is never, when we fall in love with our horses, it's hard. That's a tough thing. But you have to be prepared in order to do that, and know how to talk to them too. Yeah.
And we talk about it early and often, because it even when you are prepared, it can feel like it just happened all at once.
Sure.
And it's very overwhelming. Sure. But if we talk about it, like I said, early and often, it doesn't feel so overwhelming, I guess. It's coming. You've already made a decision. And so you just then kind of get to clear everything else away and just be in that moment with your horse, and say what you need to say before you have to say goodbye.
Would you tell people that are interested or looking, and where to look for a facility like as yourself? I know they're coming to you, but if you're full, then what they need to kind of look for or think about ahead of time with their horses. If they, maybe some of the thoughts, what am I going to do, at this point, I guess, or to give people ideas of how to think about that.
Absolutely. I think that it's a really good idea to have a list of everything that you need. Are you a person that's going to be able to come out and groom your horse every single day? Can you do thrush treatments throughout the winter so your horses don't end up with soggy feet? There's, if you have that time, then maybe you don't need to pay for all of the services that a facility like ours provides. So knowing exactly what you need is super important. Okay. If you're not going to have time, and you know that you need a facility that's going to take care of your horse nose to tail, that's going to take some more time to find. And it will definitely take more money. So, knowing your budget, knowing what you need, and knowing your horse. If your horse has never been happy in a stall.
Oh, gosh.
It's not going to work.
It happens,
my farm isn't going to work.
It happens, right? Yeah. Do you have two people then that don't come? They just want to leave their horse and let them be there. Do you have that? You do. You have all of it. Okay. Yeah.
And we're always in contact. I send pictures a lot. I'll take pictures and videos so everybody can see how their horses are doing. Sure. I have a really solid relationship with my boarders, and we talk a lot, even when I don't see them a lot. So they're always in the loop. And that's another big thing. If communication with your caretaker is important to you, definitely add that to your list. Find someone who's willing to communicate. That's could be difficult.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes in with like a lot of these horses that have had a career, like these performance horses, sports horses. A lot of those owners, they don't get to see their horse very often for, you know, the entirety that it's in training and stuff. So then it kind of goes in with like the horse fitting into your program. You know, the horse fit into that training program and the owner didn't often get to go and visit. You know, it translates into what you're doing too. So it's kind of about maintaining a little bit of that schedule, you know, for the owners and for the horses. Instead of like making people comfortable and then, yeah.
And then that's why this doesn't work for everyone. So, but that's also part of the intake process too, is I need to know what the client's expectations are, because if we don't line up, it's not going to work. So.
Is there anything we haven't asked you that you want to tell people about what you do that you feel is important that people might not think about, or that you'd like to tell other people to get, you know, that out to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's so important. If you know that you are going to have your horse, whether you bought them as a 2-year-old or a 10-year-old, you need to think ahead about retirement, because the majority of people that get in touch with me need a place right now. And that just doesn't always pan out. Yeah. So you need to have a plan as early as you can, and you need to start contacting people far before you're ready for retirement. Because when it happens, you need to be ready, because it can take a long time to get into a retirement barn, especially because, gosh, at least out here in Oregon, there's maybe 4 large retirement barns. So if you don't want to have to travel or ship your horse out of state, you really got to start thinking early. That's probably the big one.
Okay. Well, I have another question though, the name of your farm. How did you come up with the name of your farm? Yep, which is Blue Frog Equine, correct? Am I right? Yes? Okay, how did that happen? Yep.
So my husband, when he proposed, he brought home a ring and a West Highland Terrier puppy. And with Westies, because they're just little white puffballs, you can't really tell them apart. So they dye the tips of their tails. And our Westie, his name was Chopper, and he's unfortunately passed, but he was Mr. Blue as a puppy. And so for years we joked that, we're the blue team, right? We'd say, go blue team, whatever. And then I had started collecting frogs kind of accidentally. I'm not even really sure how it started, but I started collecting frogs years and years and years ago. And so people will give me like little statuettes or funny little things. And so when we moved onto this property, the house, it's a 120-year-old farmhouse that we live in on the property. And it had been abandoned. It was sitting for a couple of years. And the only thing in the house was a little thermometer that at the base had a little metal blue frog on it. And so we said, okay, that's it. This is Blue Frog Farm. That's how it started. And then we went from Blue Frog Farm. And then when we built the barn, it became Blue Frog Equine.
Oh my goodness, that's cute. Cute story. Very, very cute.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people ask. It is a funny name, but
yeah.
That's personality though.
I think so too. I like it. Yeah. You don't forget it. That's for sure.
Very true.
Okay. Well, we'll be taking a short break, and when we get back, we'll enter into our next segment, Canter Banter.
Do you have horses and live the equestrian lifestyle? Be sure to check out our blog at yourhorsefarm.com. Yourhorsefarm.com is a great equine online resource, so be sure to share with all the horse lovers in your life. And remember, laugh much and ride often.
Okay, so now, did you have a story that you wanted to talk to us about, or something that resonates and is either funny or heartfelt? I'm sure you have a lot with what you do, but something that you'd like to share with us that way?
Oh, sure. Let me think. I I think that my favorite stories, my favorite moments all kind of circle around being able to help people and being able to give them something in that moment when I know that I might be the only person that can give them a hand with this. So in instances where we've had horses colic and we know that we have to get them to the hospital and they need a ride. And so I'll kind of have to drop my life, load up the trailer and go. But for me, it's those moments, it's those sitting with people in the hospital while we're waiting for results, or being able to talk to them and having some empathy and compassion when they're trying to make that final decision. Those are my favorite times. I don't want to share a specific story because I don't want to, those are all theirs. They're the horses and they're the owner's stories. But those are the moments when I can sit down and go, oh, okay, this is why I do this.
Yes.
I'm at the other end of the lifespan here. And this is why I wanted to provide this. Yeah. So I know that Blue Frog is a safe place. It's a soft place to land and it's a safe place to say goodbye when we have to. That's my reward. That's why I do this.
Well, Meighan, it takes a really special person to be able to do that and to understand it. Not everybody can do that. So you're very appreciated and your stories have been very heartfelt. And we just really appreciate being able to talk to you today. So thank you very much for sharing and telling others about what you do and continue doing what you're doing, because it's a wonderful thing. I know a lot of people need it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of share the importance of retirement.
Maybe someone will get inspired to open their own retirement facility.
I hope so. And they should reach out to me. I'd love to chat with them about it. I'm here. You can go to my website. It's bluefrogequine.com and reach out if somebody wants to do that. I'd love to help people troubleshoot if they want to do something like this.
Wonderful. Awesome. And you're in Oregon and you have a website and they can go there and they can reach out to you. So, all right.
And we're on all the social medias because I have teenagers and they do things like that.
Yeah, they help, don't they?
It's a free social media team.
There you go.
Having teenagers.
My 14-year-old has this on lock. So.
Well, again, thank you very, very much. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So much.
We hope you enjoyed our podcast and encourage you to share with all of your equestrian family and friends. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform as well as our YouTube channel and stay up to date on all of our shows. Do you have a topic to discuss or a guest recommendation for our hosts? Email us at podcast@ramfence.com.